Hello and welcome. I hope you're all having a great day out there. Today we're going to be looking at academic success and behavior. Are they correlated, and how are they correlated if they are? We'll discuss all of that in this video. We're going to be looking at how does behavior impact academic success? What are those factors that contribute to behavior? And what behaviors should we really be encouraging? How can parents and teachers and schools really reinforce those good behaviors? And what are the great challenges with behavior that are facing schools, and how are they going to go about overcoming those? All of those things we'll be covering in this video. The number one factor, maybe not the number one factor, but one of the most important factors in determining academic success is self-discipline. That is clearly a behavior that you want to foster in kids. That is a higher determinant of success, academically speaking, than IQ. When you are self-disciplined, you will follow through, you'll get things done, you'll be better focused. All of those things that you think of when you imagine a good student, you can focus it right back to mindset and the self-discipline that comes from that. Let me tell you about one of the students I had to work with who was challenged, academically speaking, in terms of he had a whole lot of beliefs about what he was capable of that it began at an early age. And as his self-esteem kept taking a beating, and those limiting beliefs kept coming up, particularly in math, he did not do well. That spilled over on others. But a lot of this was really about the habits he was developing in the classroom and all. And to cope with some of the lack of his self-esteem, he became kind of the class clown. He's a very likable kid, all right? But because he didn't necessarily have some of those social skills as he's trying to clown around, kids tended to laugh at him, not necessarily with him. So as we were working with all of those things and breaking those down, we also began to try to get him into some good habits, that self-discipline. And when he did, when we got him, all right, when he came into our program, he scored in the bottom 10th percentile on normed math tests. He was 3 years behind grade level in math. Other subjects he was behind, not as far as in math. He had a lot of catching up to do. Well, we got him into some self-discipline and habits, and during the time that we set aside for him to work on his math independently, he would go into one of our little study areas, shut the door. We had an approved music playlist for him to listen to, and he did his math. And in 1 year, he went from the bottom 10th percentile to solidly average and increased 3 grade levels in 1 year, in part because of the discipline that he developed around doing his work. Ultimately, when we begin to look at students' behavior, there are a myriad of factors that are going to go in to what shapes their behavior. But as a mindset mentor, you know what the number one factor is. I'm going to tell you, it's mindset. And the mindset is influenced, yes, by the socioeconomic, the family dynamics, their living environment at home, their socialization skills. All those things absolutely impact that. But every single one of those I just mentioned would be impacted by your mindset, or how you deal with any of those things that have been dealt to you are greatly impacted by your mindset. Those beliefs that you develop around who you are as a person and what you can accomplish and what you can do. So we want to really be working with our students, again, regardless of what hand's been dealt to them. We want to be working with the things that they can control and put them in a position where they realize they can control those things, and show them how to control those things. What are those things? Their time, their memories, their beliefs, the labels they accept. And you begin to deal with all of that, it will impact their confidence. It impacts their motivation. It impacts all of those things that will go into their actions, their behavior, not only with how they approach learning, but how they approach the other people they're interacting with, and those can't entirely be separated out. That social aspect of what's going on in school, as well as your academic behaviors, specifically around learning and studying, are not inseparable. So you begin to deal with the mindset and you address all those things. What behaviors are going to really help you academically speaking? One is those habits around self-discipline and studying. It's beginning to understand when you do things best, time of day, understanding your own thinking processes, your own learning styles and strategies, beginning to look at the questions that you're asking yourself. When you begin to become reflective on the processes that you're going through, those behaviors are going to really help you shape your ability to improve and focus your those positive behaviors you need to be able to study. Things like focus, listening, processing of the information, note taking, different types of note taking. How did you go about doing that? Learning to ask the right questions so that you begin to understand how you made mistakes when you're getting things wrong. Those are all kinds of behaviors that you can learn and be trained to do that are going to improve your ability to perform well in school. Begins with self-reflection, begins with self-analysis. Sometimes you need help from somebody else to help point things out or help you uncover those, but it begins with that. And then it's about interrupting the old patterns, creating the new ones through repeated repetition work. This is where schools can begin to help out, having accountability with parents as well. But it begins with your self-awareness. One of the things that parents and teachers can do, very subtle, right, to help kids shift mindset, to help foster that, is you being positive, absolutely. You working on building relationships. When you give feedback to students, you want to be focusing on the process, the work, the effort, and not on, oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're so creative. You don't want to focus on the adjective. You want to be focusing on the process, about how hard they work. Look at the results by working hard. Then learning to interrupt negative patterns of thinking when you see it by asking process-oriented questions. That's one of the best ways. For example, I just can't do this. I'm not good at this at all. How do you know? I mean, how do I know? How do you know you aren't good at it? I just know. When you did that, by asking that question, how do you know? Or how do you do that? They have to go internal to try to answer the question because it's kind of embedded in their unconscious. Once you've done that, you've interrupted the pattern. Then you can begin to learn how to embed a more positive suggestion. Let me give you an example, not specifically academic behaviors, but there was a student, he wasn't in my program yet. I was aware of him. I was actually subbing in the classroom that he was in, so I knew of him, knew his history. He was kicked out like just about every day of classes. It's been going on for years, actually. He had a one-on-one with him, so when he get kicked out, the tutor, the ed tech, would take him and they would go work somewhere else. So I'm in the class with him 5 minutes, and he's beginning to exhibit those behaviors. He's not a bully. He's not violent. He was just annoying. So before he's being escorted out, I went up to him and was like, Jimmy, why are you such a pain in the butt to people? Because that's what I am. Boom, it dawned on me. That's what he is. Oh, how did you decide that? I didn't decide that. It's just what I am. Oh, so you chose to believe a lie, didn't you? And I walked away. and he walked away. I interrupted his pattern with a question. What do you mean? I didn't decide that. I didn't make that decision. I just am a pain in the butt. And then I embedded the suggestion, oh, you believe a lie. If that sort of pattern of interrupt had been done frequently with parents and teachers and all, it wouldn't be long before he wouldn't be able to replay that pattern. That's one way that teachers and parents can learn to help interrupt negative patterns and suggest new, more positive behaviors. This last point I just want to make is, you could do a whole video, long video on this. The challenges schools face is consistency, having a school-wide program that everybody's buying into, and not being afraid to be tough on students. There's too much coddling and there's too much cowing to people for the wrong reasons. And schools really lack, this is a generalization, but I've been in enough schools to know they lack consistency, they lack a good system, and they don't follow through. Behavior is a huge topic. I hope you gain some valuable information there. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. But I also think you would be really wise to check out a free webinar, Empower and Excel, because that will really go in a little more details about some of the topics we talked about today. And you can find the link to that in the description for this video. So register for that, check that out, and I will see you in the next video.